Here's everything you missed while we were on the clock. A group of bipartisan senators has introduced a bill to ban DeepSeek from being used on government devices. Trump is planning to impose a new 10% tariff on goods imported from China. The Department of Education has launched a public portal where people can file complaints about diversity, equity, and inclusion policies in K-12 public schools. France has joined the U.S. in efforts to gain access to Ukraine's mineral resources. Unemployment claims have reached their highest level in 3 months. Thousands of people have gathered at the Iowa Capitol as lawmakers prepare to vote on removing gender identity as a protected civil right. Trump has announced that a 25% tariff on goods from Canada and Mexico will go into effect on Tuesday, while also doubling tariffs on Chinese imports. The Trump administration is struggling to rehire workers it previously fired who were involved in bird flu response efforts. A court has ruled that the CIA can fire employees who were involved in DEI programs. The Pentagon has ordered a new round of social media purges, requiring the removal of all references to DEI by March 5th. Tesla stock continues to decline, and teachers' unions are pushing major investment firms to reconsider their holdings in the company. Meta has apologized for an error that caused Instagram feeds to be flooded with violent content. After the Trump administration fired hundreds of FAA workers, Elon is now calling on retired air traffic controllers to return to help with staff shortages. The Department of Veterans Affairs has put billions of dollars in planned contract cuts on hold after concerns were raised about the impact on veterans' healthcare services. The Pentagon has started identifying transgender service members for removal. The EPA is moving to reverse its previous determination that greenhouse gases are harmful. And that's everything you missed while we were on the clock. Wealthy foreigners could soon buy their way into the United States if they have $5 million. Donald Trump's new gold card visa plan would grant U.S. residency to the ultra rich while giving them a tax break that everyday Americans don't even get. Under this proposed plan, foreign millionaires could secure U.S. residency and a path to citizenship for $5 million. But the most controversial part, gold card holders wouldn't have to pay taxes on income earned outside of the United States, a perk that's not even available to us as citizens. Right now, U.S. citizens and green card holders must pay taxes on all income, no matter where it's earned. This rule has kept some wealthy foreigners from moving to the United States, but Trump's proposal would create a two-tier system where the rich get to keep more of their global wealth tax-free. Investor visas aren't new. Other countries have them too, but the U.S. version would be among the most expensive. Most other countries charge around $1 million for similar programs. Still, there's already interest from wealthy individuals eager to buy their way into American residency. According to Newsweek, Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick claims the gold card visa already has 250,000 applicants lined up. That's 250,000 wealthy people hoping to take advantage of this high-priced residency deal. The U.S. already has an investor visa program, the EB-5, which was created in 1990 to boost the economy through job creation and foreign investment. Trump's gold card visa could be an expanded version of that, but with extra benefits for the wealthy. So, what do y'all think? Would this visa bring in valuable investments, or is this just another way for the wealthy to play by different rules? Thousands of protesters gathered at the Iowa State Capitol today to oppose House Bill 583, a bill that would remove gender identity from the state's Civil Rights Act. The legislation, which is advancing in the Republican-led legislature, would eliminate legal protections for transgender Iowans in employment, housing, education, and public accommodations. This bill would open the door to widespread discrimination and roll back rights that have been in place since 2007. Protesters packed the Capitol rotunda, holding signs and chanting in opposition as lawmakers debated the measure inside. Advocacy groups, community leaders, and concerned residents have condemned the bill, calling it a direct attack on Iowa's transgender community. If passed, the legislation would not only remove gender identity as a protected class, but also legally define sex based solely on biological characteristics at birth. This change could result in restrictions on legal documentation, healthcare access, and participation in public life for transgender and non-binary individuals. The ACLU of Iowa and other advocacy groups have vowed to challenge the law if enacted. Despite the large-scale opposition, the bill is expected to pass and move to Governor Kim Reynolds' desk for approval. Reynolds has not yet indicated whether she will sign it into law. Did y'all hear about the woman who collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital by air only to have her insurance company refuse to cover the $65,000 bill because she didn't get it pre-authorized before going into literal cardiac arrest? That's exactly what happened to Amanda Bowley on October 24, 2024. After suffering from cardiac arrest at home, Amanda was thankfully saved by first responders and airlifted to the hospital. But when the hospital bill started rolling in, she was hit with a huge surprise. Anthem denied her coverage for the air ambulance ride, claiming that she needed pre-approval, a request that she couldn't make week while literally unconscious. But Amanda didn't back down. She appealed the decision twice, but Anthem refused to cover the cost both times. According to 11 Alive, the insurance company stood by its pre-authorization requirement, saying, quote, "Your claim was processed correctly. Air ambulance services are subject to medical necessity reviews by us and will only be covered when approved in advance. So before services are performed, there is no pre-authorization on file approving this service," end quote. Huh? It wasn't until Amanda took her story to the news that Anthem admitted errors in processing her claim. The company apologized for the mishandling and agreed to cover the $65,000 charge. But sadly, Amanda's case isn't isolated. Insurance companies are increasingly denying claims like hers, and some are even using artificial intelligence in decision making, and this could make claim denials more frequent and harder to challenge. Thankfully, Amanda's situation was resolved, but how many others are out here dealing with the same issue? She should be focusing on her recovery, not begging her insurance to cover medical expenses. New data released today show that the U.S. housing market and job market both showed signs of trouble, with home sales falling to their lowest level on record and jobless claims rising higher than expected. Here's what you need to know. Home sales hit a low in January. It was a tough month. Ridiculously high mortgage rates and rising home prices made buying a home an unachievable goal for working class people. Pending home sales, which track signed contracts for existing homes, fell by almost 5% from December and hit their lowest level since 2001. Affordability remains the biggest issue. Mortgage rates are now above 7%, making it harder for buyers to even afford homes. While home prices have started to ease in some areas, they are still way higher than last year. Meanwhile, the job market also took a hit. Unemployment claims rose to 242,000, up from 22,000 from the previous week. This is the highest number of claims since October 2024. One major factor is all the job cuts from the Trump administration and Elon's Department of Government Efficiency, which has already cut tens of thousands of government jobs, and more layoffs are expected. In Washington, D.C., new unemployment claims jumped 26% in a week. While home sales are struggling and jobless claims are rising, other economic indicators are mixed. Orders for durable goods like airplanes, appliances, and computers jumped 3.1% in January, suggesting businesses may be preparing for future growth. However, inflation remains a concern, with prices still rising at a steady pace, making everyday items more unaffordable. With high interest rates, job cuts happening, and tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China set to take effect in March, the worst of the economic pain is yet to come. On day 27 of Black History Month, we honor and celebrate Lucy Parsons. Lucy Parsons was a powerful activist, writer, and labor organizer who fought for workers' rights and racial justice. She was born in Texas, likely into slavery, and dedicated her life to fighting for justice. Parsons and her husband, Albert Parsons, moved to Chicago, where she became deeply involved in the labor movement. She was a leading voice in the fight for an 8-hour workday, which led to the famous Haymarket Affair of 1886, a key moment in labor history. After Albert was executed following the protests, she continued her activism for decades. Known as one of the most radical women of her time, she co-founded the Industrial Workers of the World and gave fiery speeches about workers rising against oppression. Despite facing government surveillance and suppression, she remained outspoken against capitalism, racism, and poverty. Lucy Parsons' legacy lives on as a champion of labor rights, and that's why on day 27 of Black History Month, we honor and celebrate Miss Lucy Parsons. Stay tuned to see who we honor tomorrow.